Refreshing.
Hello, my name is Anchor, and this is the Krytan Chronicles. So we're just going to jump in here. Essentially, what we're trying to do is meet other role players and get to know their characters a little bit. And we're going to be following their characters and the stories they've created for them. So if you don't know the game, this is Guild Wars 2. I'll explain a little bit more about it in a second, but first, to start off, we're just jumping into a little roleplay right here. Now, I want to mention that this isn't a player that I know personally. This is not a planned encounter. It just sort of happened spontaneously while I was traveling through Gendern Fields. Happened along this ranger, Boston Gray, who you see, and wanted to see if he was interested in doing a little role-playing. So this is a character I've created. He's an engineer. His name is Eckert Orland. He's not really the focus of this video. He's gonna act like us. He's gonna be the observer. Really, we're gonna focus on Boston Gray, who you're about to meet, and get to know his character a little bit more and what his story is. Which is a great thing about role-playing. You meet a lot of really great people and a lot of really great characters, and people will put a lot of thought and a lot of creativity into creating their characters. So I want to kind of show some of their hard work and some of that creativity as well. So I'm going to let you watch this little interaction. Eckert has explained that he's collecting some geological survey data in the caves west of here. He's a bit of a researcher. He's come up with an experiment. The only problem is he needs protection in the caves since they're riddled with centaur. So he's explaining he can offer him payment if he protects him through the caves, and I'll let you watch their little conversation here. Alright, and as you can see here, even accepted before I offered his payment, which was nice. Now, this is a sort of a strategy I've come up with to meet other role players in character. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. If you have friends that role play, that's the easiest way, to get any role playing done. But another good way is to go on forums. There's the official website has forums where you can meet other role players. There's also a role-playing site for the unofficial, the unofficial role-playing site of Guild Wars 2. So there's a lot of other role players you can meet there. But this is my favorite way to meet other players. It's just spontaneously while playing the game. You don't have to search around for other people to play with you. You just, whoever you happen to run into, because they're already playing, you don't have to schedule a meetup time, which is nice. So yeah, the characters are just introducing themselves, and so Eckert explains this is the cave where he's conducting his research, and Boston also introduces his pet leopard, I believe it is, Sly. So you can see I'm going to skip over some of the battling here since I want to focus more on the dialogue and the story and this character in particular. And this is another thing I wanted to show. This is one of the reasons that I like role-playing out in the field where it's dangerous, is because things like that can happen. You can get interrupted in the middle of your roleplay by the elements and by enemies in the area. So Eckert was just in the middle of explaining what his... I'm going to invite Boston here. So he's explaining what his research was all about. out of nowhere, a catapult hurls into him, knocks him back, and really creates a sense of spontaneity, and it's a lot more fun than just if you were, you know, talking in one of the home cities where there's no danger, you know? So Eggert's explaining a little bit what he's doing up here and why the centaurs are getting in his way. Now, if you're new to Guild Wars 2, or you haven't played it but you're thinking about playing it, if you don't know too much about the lore, the nice thing about the game is you don't need to know too much. You don't have to really have played the first game. However, if you are going to roleplay, it does help to have at least a basic understanding of the world and what's going on. So these two characters, they're both human. Humans come from Krytan. At least now they only come from Krytan. There used to be 3 kingdoms. I'm not going to explain too much about the lore since I'm by no means an expert, but there are some videos on YouTube that you can catch just to brush up on the lore. You really only need the basic understanding. I mean, unless you're a historian, it's not like every character is going to know every detail of the history. But yeah, having a basic understanding. So if you have played Guild Wars 2, then you probably know that the Centaur and the humans are in a bit of a conflict. They've been in conflict for a few centuries, it seems. Which is why every time a human leaves the city walls, they're always going to be in danger from Centaur. Which is why it actually creates a good justification for Eckert to meet other characters. Because he's going to need protection. He's more of a tinkerer than a fighter. And so right here I start to explain what Eckert's kind of experiment is all about. So I'll let you figure out what that is. So anyone who's tried to roleplay while fighting will realize how difficult it is to type and battle at the same time. I mean, especially if it's a difficult battle. Luckily, since there's 2 of us, we're not having too much trouble with these centaur. But I actually kind of like that it's difficult. I mean, you can imagine being in a situation in a real battle. There's so much going on. The stakes are really high. It's not going to be the easiest to have a conversation while you're fighting for your life. So I kind of like that, you know, in a certain light, it's more realistic that it's difficult to speak. And again, I'm not a grammar Nazi. I mean, I try and, you know, correct myself as much as possible when I make a mistake in chat, but I don't really care if someone else misspells a word or something like that. And again, the way I like to think of it is, you know, people make brain farts all the time. They say or like, or, you know, they say stupid stuff, or they mispronounce words all the time. So when someone spells something wrong, I just assume, you know, like, it happens all the time in real life anyways, you know? So it's not completely immersion breaking. So yeah, so what Eckert has explained here, and I'll just paraphrase, he's reconfigured one of his thumper turrets to act as kind of I don't even know what to call it. It sends sonic waves through the ground, and from the echo, he's able to determine whether or not there are minerals, valuable minerals beneath the ground that could be possibly mined in the future, or at least that's what he's hoping to do with this experiment. And again, I totally just made that up. I mean, it's essentially, if you've seen the beginning of Jurassic Park, it's the machine from the beginning of Jurassic Park. They're using it to find dinosaur bones beneath the ground. That's essentially where I got the idea. So it's not original, but it serves its purpose. He's created a context and a reason to be in the caves, and a reason to need protection. And through that, you're creating at least some sort of realistic reason for these two characters to interact with each other, which is what role-playing is all about. It's about interacting with other role players. It's not as much fun if you're just in character all the time by yourself. So right here, he's just activated his turret to collect his data. And so this is where Eckert is going to start to get to know Boston a little. So I'll let you see what he says.
Not enough energy.
Alright, so you can see here Eckert's sort of probing a little, asking some questions about Boston, what he's doing out in Gendron Fields. And so Boston, this is the point where you can really get involved in the other player's story. You don't want it to be about you all the time. So you can see I've created a little bit of info about Eckert and his background. Well, it's really just enough to give him a context to be out here. Really, who we really want to know is Boston and what he's up to. So as he explains, he's not just any regular ranger. He's actually on a manhunt, you could say. So he explains he's hunting a man who is a fugitive. So Eckert's, naturally curious, gonna do what anyone would do and ask him a few more questions about that. Sorry about that, I was just taking a little screenshot there. But as you can see, once Boston explains a little bit what he's doing, it really creates a good opportunity to sort of dive into that character's world and their story. And that's what you want to do. You want to kind of create as many opportunities to roleplay as possible and open as many different doors. So whenever someone mentions something like that, that's a potential opportunity to kind of go with it and create some more roleplay out of it. Alright, so we can see what's happening here is we've taken our roleplay and we've actually sort of linked it to a dynamic event that's happening in the game. So if you're not familiar with Guild Wars 2, you're new to the game, and well, if you haven't heard about dynamic events, then you definitely don't know too much about Guild Wars 2, since that's what everyone will tell you about the game. That's one of the most unique things about it is events will unfold on their own, whether or not you're participating or not, so you don't need to get a quest and trigger something happening. It will happen on its own. You could come along a village and see it's getting attacked. You might be walking along the road and see a caravan getting assaulted, and so you can sort of do these spontaneous quests as you're traveling through the world. And so we're kind of taking advantage of that and role-playing, or at least mixing the role-play with this in-game quest. So right now, Eckert and Boston, they've agreed to split up to look for catapult parts, which have been stolen by the Centaur, which kind of fits the what's going on, since Eckert was hit by a catapult earlier. He's kind of angry about it. This is his vengeance, in a way, of dismantling their catapults and bringing the parts back to the Seraph, who are sort of like the military of Krytan.
Everyone, hurry up. I'll take one.
May Balthazar strengthen you. You have something to report?
Fantastic. I thought the parts would be long gone or broken. Let's get this stuff to Nebo Terrace. Gods know they need it.
So now you can see here another player has come along. So I took this as an opportunity to open up the roleplay a bit. And again, this is the reason I love role-playing, you know, through battle, is you get all the fun in the gameplay of the regular Guild Wars experience, but you get more of a story involved with it. Instead of just randomly killing centaurs, you're given a purpose and a context, which makes it all the more fun.
Walk softly through here. I heard Tamini hide in those caves, preying on travelers.
You will be broken.
So yeah, this is a bonus of introducing more characters. You get to see a bit more of Boston's personality there. He's kind of flirting a bit, you know, calling her lovely, that sort of thing, you know, grinning at her. So yeah, you get to see a bit more of his personality. And again, this wasn't sort of planned, it wasn't scripted. They just happened to be a character in the area. I didn't even know if they were a role player, but there are a few good things to look for to, you know, give you a better idea if they're a role player or not. One thing I noticed is she had a first and a last name. So again, if they're gonna role play, then they're gonna choose a name that is realistic. They're not gonna be, you know, Slayer 473. You know, that it would be something that a human character would have. Again, if they were role playing a char, then it would have a very char-like name. I'm not too good with making up char names, which is why I'm human. So yeah, if you see something like that, it's a good indicator that they're in character. Another thing I like to look for is if they use the walk command, because if they're using the walk command, they're almost definitely a role player. There's no reason anyone else would ever use the walk command unless they were in character, which is another reason that I like using it. I mean, there are a few reasons. I like to look at the environment, so I want to go through the game slower so I can observe the nice artwork that the game designers have created. Another reason, it's a bit more realistic, it's more in character. Obviously he's not going to sprint, you know, sprint home or sprint to the merchant stall and sprint to the quest. You know, he's going to walk. It's only in battle he really needs to hustle. But the most important reason to me is it lets people know that you're indeed a role player. So that way, if they're, you know, if they see that, then they're more likely to interact with you in character. And again, if you see someone else walking, then it's a good chance that they're role playing. See, I'm just skipping through this battle. So right now we're helping to escort this shipment to the local outpost.
Look alive. Harathi incoming.
And so, luckily, Dolly is playing along, sort of asking questions of her own about, you know, what we're up to and what Eckert's experiments are. So it's a good sign that they're really interested in and interacting in role playing, and so you can use that to create more interactions in the future. So here, Eckert being typically absent-minded, striking up a conversation while they're getting attacked. So you can really pick up certain nuances in characters. I mean, if they're a really good role player, which I think these two, you know, they're pretty decent. You can sort of pick up these little, I guess, character idiosyncrasies. I mean, you notice how Boston, when he met Dahlia, he was very polite and, you know, and charming with her, which, you know, kind of, without giving away too much, reflects his upbringing. And where you see Dahlia, she's very sort of, how how do I want to say, nonchalant. She's not, you know, like when she explains she's out here, she's not really doing anything particular. She's very sort of just wandering. She's not a very what's the word, she doesn't have her life doesn't have a really sense of urgency, or, you know, she seems like the kind of person who takes things easy, who's not really uptight or anything like that. And so you can kind of tell that, and you can sort of see how their character backgrounds influence their personalities the more you get to know them, which is one of the most interesting things about role-playing. So what's happening right now is Eckert is essentially filling her in on Boston's mission, on the manhunt he's on. And so he suggests she seems like a talented necromancer, and that her magic might come in handy on his manhunt. So they've agreed to invite her along on their little quest. And yet another fun example of how the real world can sort of interact, or not the real world, the game world, I should say, can interact with your story and interfere in all these interesting and unexpected ways. I mean, we had no idea that this attack was going to happen, but we just ran with it, and we integrated it into this sort of story that we're telling.
Center! Protect the villagers!
Yeah, so what happened there was my inventory was completely full, in-game and in character. So Eckert was just looking for a merchant to unload some of his unnecessary gear, but with no luck. So what's happening right now is Boston, as he's emoted here and described, is little bird lands with a message attached to his leg, so that's kind of why he's not interacting, or at least it's his in-character explanation of why he's not really interacting right now, is he's sort of imagine his character reading the message. And again, if you're not familiar with roleplay, I like to think of roleplay as being 90% imagination, or the very least 60% imagination. In the case of a video game, I mean, obviously you can't control all your character's expressions, but it's 90% of what's happening is going to be in your collective imaginations. That's how it is in Dungeons and Dragons. That's how it is on Guild Wars 2. So yeah, as he explains, he had to leave his computer. The actual player had to leave the computer to answer the phone. And I kind of like that he used this sort of messenger bird as his sort of explanation. You can imagine him off reading this message. So there's, some sort of real, an easier way to imagine why, he just sort of all of a sudden ignores us. So at this point I kind of shifted the focus over to Dahlia and started asking about her character. Because again, this video, this series is really all about getting to know characters. And so hopefully we'll get even more in depth as we go. And then for some strange reason, a long pause. So yeah, this is another way that players will subtly express their character's personality. You can see this little description here. She turns to look at him without any real expression on her face. So I've just asked her why she doesn't have a home, and she doesn't seem to be emotionally fazed by it at all. So that tells you a little bit about, how she feels.
Those reinforcements get here, we may all be dead tomorrow.
That scavenger looks quite intimidating. Go away, disgusting scavenger. So disgusting. Stop consuming those fine people. When will it end? Why don't they leave us alone? I never knew a scale could take that many blows. Maybe I should sell tickets.
I want
So
my
others can
family
witness the
back.
carnage. It's healthier than I would have expected.
Do we
I've
know
nothing
you?
left but scales and those awful little bones that get stuck in your teeth. Good job.
queen, God's bless her, I'd flood this valley with seraph and get rid of the centaurs once and for all.
Good thing you're not the queen, God's bless her. You look silly in petticoats.
Yeah, so we skipped ahead a little here. I tend to walk everywhere when I'm playing a character. However, just for time constraints, Boston wanted to use the warp. So out of character, we decided to use the waypoint, so we could travel quickly back to the city. But again, I don't like to even really acknowledge that the waypoints exist. I just prefer traveling on foot. You get to meet more people. Even if you're not a role player, it's more fun because of the dynamic events. Anything could happen on the road to and from the city. So yeah, so usually there would have been a lot of walking involved, but we decided to just sort of skip ahead and pretend to fast forward to the city. And this is the sort of things you can kind of decide out of character amongst yourselves what's the best option. And now we've been chatting in character completely in the regular chat. That's all in character. If you do see something in brackets, that's usually a sign that that they're putting a little note out of character, so that's not to be taken. It's basically off the record, you could say. And also what I'll often do with other players is use the party chat for out of character, and I just like to use the regular chat just for in-character roleplay, because I like the idea of this being, this isn't a private conversation. Anyone could walk by and overhear us. And so when you use the regular chat, it gives that sense of reality. And another thing I want to talk about is the creators of this game spent a lot of work and money into making the game feel immersive and making the world feel alive. And to do that, of course, they created the dynamic events. Another thing they created, as you can hear, are some ambient dialogue. And so, yeah, so right now we're just pausing for a moment while Dahlia invites a friend. So as you can see, we're using the party chat to talk out of character. She's saying that she wants to invite one of her friends who wants to roleplay along with us. And so yeah, this is an instance where you can kind of, script or at least prepare some roleplay. So it doesn't all have to be spontaneous, obviously. But anyways, as I was saying, you do hear a lot of ambient dialogue, and the creators put a lot of work into that so that it would feel real. So when you're on a role-playing server, right now we're playing on Tarnished Coast, which is the unofficial role-playing server in North America. You get all this bonus ambient dialogue from real people and their characters, and it's even more immersive because instead of a recording that plays on a loop every some odd minutes or hours, you get very unique dialogue that only you are hearing. You happen to walk by and hear two Asura, arguing about politics, and that'll be a very unique conversation. So if you're able to follow the chat box along at all, you might notice some actual other role playing going on in the background. And yeah, so we got to know a little bit more of Boston here. As he explains, he is from a noble family, and that's how he knows the royal family. And so again, you're getting a little bit more backstory. Of course, everyone chooses whether or not they're noble, commoner, or street rat when they make a human. It's just part of the character creation, but he's sort of adopted that into part of his character. And so yeah, so Dahlia, you can see Dahlia invited another friend, apparently from her guild. And not a very talkative, he seems like a very kind of mysterious kind of person. But nevertheless, I try and get to know him a little bit. And so yeah, Eckert was just explaining how spent most of his life in Divinity's Reach. He's only just recently left in order to complete his apprenticeship by exploring more of the world and learning more about other technologies. And so here we're actually jumping into an instance. So we're actually going to jump into part of the game's built-in story. And we're actually sort of role-playing along to the story that's already written for the game. So this is Boston's instance here, which you'll see.
There you are, Initiate. Are you ready to lay a trap for our friend Kellic?
I am, Ehum. Are your agents prepared?
Our agents, my friend. You're a member of the Order of Whispers now. We all work as one. Everything's arranged. We've set traps throughout the room, and we'll create a magical duplicate of Queen Jenna to distract Kellic.
But the real Queen Jenna will be safe, right?
Absolutely. You have my word, on the honor of our order.
Good. Kellogg's been sighted near the palace grounds. He should be here any minute now.
Success.
The bombs should be easy to arm. They've been strategically placed and just need activation. The bomb should be ready now. Good timing. Kellic's here.
Your Majesty, my beloved Queen, Jenna, you have to listen. I won't hurt you. I just need your blood. It will save Kryta. Corporal Kellic, drop your weapons and surrender. You're not thinking clearly. No. I need her blood. Royal blood. Don't you understand? It can cure the corruption. Make us all free. It's not true. Alastia Crow lied to you, Kellic. She did this just to endanger the Queen. No. No, you're wrong. There has to be a way. Tell me! No, this can't be the truth. I'll kill you all!
For the Queen! Charge!
Alright, so we're just going to finish off here with this, some battle, some combat. So yeah, you've seen how you can really involve the story of the game and mix it in with the story of your roleplay. And I find that it gives it more of a realistic feel, and it feels a bit more like a traditional role-playing game, you know, where you're not the only character. There's actually a team of characters.
Poor Kellic.
And so yeah, we're just
His
doing
mistakes were rooted in his love for Queen and country.
So many mistakes. Made for all the right reasons. The Queen could have been killed by someone who loved her. Even... I mean, it really makes you think.
It's all right, Logan. The Queen is safe. Focus on the future, and Kryta will stay safe too.
Well done, Initiate. You showed tremendous cunning and nerve. I'm proud you're a member of the Order of Whispers. Now for the rest of your initiation. Go to Lion's Arch. There you'll be contacted by an apple merchant. Meet with him to get your first formal assignment.
I look forward to it. It's time to be part of a bigger world. Logan, are you all right? You seem rattled.
I'm glad Jenna's safe, but I realize now that her safety is temporary. Everything is temporary. Unless the dragons can be stopped. The dragons can't be defeated by one person, or even one nation. There has to be another way. Do you think we can overcome our mistakes, my friend? Make up for the things we've done?
I know we can, Logan. Mistakes make us human. It's rising up again that makes us heroes.
You're right. I've been too focused on keeping the Queen safe. I love being at her side, but maybe that's not where I can best defend her. Or Kryta. An old friend named Kaith asked me to meet her at Lion's Arch. I think I'll take her up on that.
I think that's an excellent idea. I'll see you in Lion's Arch.
Alright, and that's that. So we got to see a little bit of Boston's story. both in the game and out of the game, or at least in the game mission and out of the game the mission. So hopefully we'll be able to see a bit more of him and see where his character is at in future episodes. We're also going to be meeting some other role players and their characters, and hopefully get to know some of them along the way. So that's about everything. I do want to mention, so I'm going to put a link to a website if you're looking for information on lore on Guild Wars 2, which you kind of need if you're going to roleplay in the game. There's a great series of videos by a channel called Wooden Potatoes. They have about 8 videos. You really only need to watch the first one to get a general sense of what's going on in the world of Tyria, but I do recommend watching all of them. The animations are great, and it's really well narrated and scripted, so check it out. I'll leave it in the section below. This is my first YouTube video, guys, so I hope I didn't biff it, and I hope I can do some more like this, so we'll see you again in the future, hopefully. Actually, I won't see you, because this is a computer screen, and I'm talking into a microphone. I'm having an existential crisis right now. And it's past. Alright, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you are a role player, hit me up. And by hit me up, I mean message me. Don't physically hurt me. If you'd like to be on an episode, then send me a message. If you're a role player on Tarnished Coast, then you definitely might be in a future episode. Definitely maybe in a future episode. So we'll see what we can do. So until next time, this is Anchor on behalf of the Krytan Chronicler, signing out.